There are 3 million less Catholics today than there were in 2007. Now, if you compare the years 1965 to 2017, you'll see the following. In 1965, there were 58,632 priests. In 2017, there is a total of 37,192 priests. In 1965, there were 994 priestly ordinations, while in 2017, there have only been 548 priestly ordinations. In 1965, there were 179,945 religious sisters. That number dropped dramatically, because in 2017, there are only 47,170 religious sisters. In 1965, there were 12,271 religious brothers, while in 2017, the number dropped all the way down to 4,119. Now, the decline of those who are on the religious life side and those who are, decline of those who are in the priesthood side, let's look at the general Catholic population. 30 million Catholic souls have abandoned the Catholic faith. 30 million Catholics no longer identify themselves to be Catholics, even though they are Catholic by baptism. And the fact of the matter is that you can't give back the sacrament of baptism. You can't tell God thanks but no thanks after you received the sacrament. Once Catholic, always Catholic, and you will be judged as a Catholic. Now, 30 million Catholics are in the state of the sin of apostasy. That's a very serious sin. In fact, the sin of apostasy is so serious that our Lord Jesus Christ says so himself, that he will not save those who betray him. In fact, our Lord Jesus Christ says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 33, quote, "But he that shall deny me before men, I will also deny him before my Father, who is in heaven." Close quote. Christ himself will damn the baptized Christians who reject him. 30 million souls are at grave risk. 30 million souls, which is almost a half of the Catholic population in the United States alone. The Catholic population in the United States is 70 million, around 70 million to be exact. And yet, 30 million, just shy of a half. Now, those 30 million aside, an overwhelming majority of the Catholics who have not committed the sin of apostasy are actually committing the sin of heresy. In fact, according to a 2015 Pew Research study titled U.S. Catholics Open to Non-Traditional Families, some staggering numbers were revealed. According to the study, 66% of Catholics in America believe the use of contraception is not sinful, while 76% of Catholics in America believe that the Catholic Church should change its teachings on contraceptives. Almost half of the Catholics in the United States want the Church to change its teachings on marriage, which includes the changing of the sacrament of marriage, while 39% of Catholics in America don't believe that sodomy, homosexual acts, are sinful. In summary, more than half of Catholics in America want the Catholic Church to change its teachings on sexual morality. More than half of Catholics in America are in open rebellion against God and His Church's teaching authority. More than half of Catholics in America. That's without taking into consideration the former Catholics. We're just looking at those who still consider themselves to be Catholic. An overwhelming majority, in fact, 76% are outside or are in one form of heresy, either material or objective. It is a very, very sad state of affairs. St. Augustine says heretics that think false things about God and call it their faith. Around 4 out of 10 Catholics go to Mass in this country. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It actually seems pretty nice, almost half of Catholics. But if you really look at the numbers, and you break down that 4 out of 10, who are the 4? Well, 3/4 of the 4, 3 out of the 4, are actually baby boomers. They're above the age of 62. They actually range above the age of 62. Now, the baby boomer generation is expected to die off in the coming years. This is a problem for the church, especially for the continued, just the fiscal security of the church, because it's the baby boomers who go to Mass the most, who donate the most, who happen to be involved the most. When these people die, when the elderly die, thousands of parishes across the United States will close down, and that's because dioceses will no longer have the money they once had to maintain those parishes. And what we will see is the dwindling of the Catholic Church in every sense, in numbers. And the fact is, 4 out of 10 Catholics go to Mass weekly. It doesn't mean 4 out of 10 are actually faithful. It doesn't mean those 4 are faithful. Right? It just means that 4 actually, the 4 out of 10 actually just does the very basics. They go to Mass, but that doesn't guarantee that these people are saints. It doesn't mean that they're faithful to every teaching of the Church. It doesn't. It just doesn't. But it's just a really sad state of affairs. In fact, Pope Benedict XVI had the following to say: "From the crisis of today, a new church of tomorrow will emerge. A church that has lost much. She will become small and will have to start afresh, more or less from the beginning. She will no longer be able to inhabit many of the edifices she built in prosperity. As the number of her adherents diminishes, so she will lose many of her social privileges. In contrast to an earlier age, she will be seen much more as a voluntary society, entered only by a free decision. But in all this, the Church will find her essence afresh, and with full conviction in that which was always at her center, faith in the true and God, in Jesus Christ, the Son of God made man, in the presence of the Spirit, until the end of the world."